With a news update on WHTC Holland's Cool FM, I'm Gary Stevens. Bill Huizenga may be in for the fight of his political life. The 8-term incumbent Republican congressman from Holland, in an email to supporters this week, admitted that the 4th U.S. House District in Michigan is a top target of national Democrats. In a campaign to retake the House majority, Democrat super PACs and outside groups preparing to pour millions of dollars into southwest Michigan. But before Huizenga can totally focus on the November 3rd general election, he must get past a hurdle in the GOP primary and challenger Phil Tannis, who had formally unveiled his campaign this week.
Tannis says voters need a choice, and he says it's time to restore civility, integrity, and genuine public service to Michigan's 4th Congressional District.
One of the things I'm dedicated to doing is trying to reach across to both sides and model a candidacy of civility and respect and just trying and lessen the heat.
Now, Tannis is currently the director of Hope College's Van Raalte Institute. He was Holland's youngest mayor from 1987 to 1989. I'm Michael Arney.
On the Democratic side, State Senator Sean McCann is going up against Diop Harris II in the August 3rd primary election. The Lakeshore's Animal Rescue Center is getting more than a makeover. On Tuesday, a ceremonial groundbreaking was held at the West Olive grounds of Harbor Humane Society for a new 5,000-square-foot adoption building. When completed in about a year's time, the facility will have private spaces for adoptions, improved pet accommodations, increased room for administrative operations, and more. The current building will be remodeled for improved animal intake and maintenance. Jen Nuremberg, Harbor Humane's Director of Marketing, says that about half of the $3.6 million price tag for the overall project has been raised thus far.
This is kind of our official launch, to the public now, where we've been doing this behind the scenes. We've got some incredible donors that we've been working with for years that have truly just stepped up to help us, make this a reality. And so now it's time for us to share with the world, and hopefully just, every little donation counts.
Besides receiving ongoing proceeds from its resale store in Holland, Harbor Humane Society's next major fundraiser is the Ales for Tales event at the Holland Township Community Center on July 23rd. On this first full week of summer, the weather should start reflecting this change of seasons soon. High temperatures are expected to reach the 80s over the weekend along the lakeshore, with hot weather in the 90s predicted for next Monday through Wednesday. Brian Wheeler with Consumers Energy admits that trying to stay cool will be paramount.
You have to run your air conditioning sometimes. I would never say sacrifice your comfort, your safety. You got to take care of yourself. Use your AC as you need to, but think about those lower cost alternatives, different times of day, less invasive, less traumatic ways of powering your life. That's where you save money.
The Jackson-based utility recommends beating the summer heat and managing your energy bills by adjusting your thermostat, blocking out the sun, shifting heavy appliance use to off-peak hours, taking advantage of ceiling fans, and grilling outside. The Battle Creek Community Oversight Board is reviewing the detainment by Battle Creek Police of 16-year-old Jeremiah Spearman on June 14th. Now, Spearman was walking on a sidewalk when police say he had his face covered by a mask, which is invisible in dash cam video released by the department. Officers claim he rolled the mask up and then wore it like a beanie when they approached him. It was the second time in 10 days that authorities detained Spearman. The Oversight Board is being very intentional with their investigation, according to Battle Creek Organizational Development Officer Kimberly Holly. 2 Comstock Township trustees were recalled in the November election. Kalamazoo County Clerk and Register of Deeds Meredith Place certified the recall petitions against Bob Pratt and Christy Cherry yesterday after organizers collected enough signatures of registered voters. They needed to submit at least 1,817 signatures. The petition against Pratt had 1,864. The petition against Cherry, 1,830. The recall election will be on November 3rd. The Solon Township Planning Commission has tabled a proposed ordinance on data centers for a 5th time. An unnamed technology company wants to build a data center in that northern Kent County community. It passed a 6-month moratorium on those developments in February. Residents pleaded with board members for over an hour last night to extend the moratorium, and they're concerned that the proposed ordinance does not limit the amount of groundwater that can be withdrawn for data center use. Travelers need to go on to northbound US 131 from westbound I-94 near Kalamazoo. We'll have to take a detour for the next couple of months. The State Department of Transportation closed that ramp for work to Abilene on US 131. So the ramp from northbound US 131 to westbound I-94 is also closed, and drivers are being told to access US 131 northbound from Stadium Drive or West Main Street. Walker police have released dashcam footage of officers stopping a wrong-way driver on I-96 shortly after 1 a.m. on June 17th. The officers responded to a report of an SUV going east in the westbound lane near Alpine Avenue. They stopped that wrong-way vehicle about a minute after they had spotted it. The driver was arrested on suspicion of driving drunk. The incident happened a couple of days before two other deadly wrong-way crashes happened in the Grand Rapids area that killed 5 people. The U.S. Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals in Cincinnati has ruled against the Trump administration, saying the federal government cannot force Michigan to turn over its complete voter registration database. The decision affirms the dismissal of the federal lawsuit against Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. The federal appeals court said the U.S. Department of Justice did not satisfy procedural requirements under Title III of the Civil Rights Act before they demanded Michigan turn over its unredacted qualified voter file. Benson supplied the federal government with the public version of the qualified voter files, with personally identifying information removed. Southeast Michigan gas stations have been given a 77-day extension of Governor Whitmer's energy emergency executive order to let them continue selling less expensive winter gas blends. State House and Senate passed similar concurrent resolutions yesterday as Whitmer's EO was to expire next week. The order was issued as the Iran conflict caused a massive spike in fuel prices earlier this year. The summer blend of gasoline costs about 15 cents more than the winter blend. A 61-year-old Sheboygan man will spend between 3 and 15 years behind bars after pleading guilty in March to a charge of attempting to make a terroristic threat. State Attorney General Dana Nessel claims Barry Hopkinson threatened a 53rd Circuit Court judge, the Sheboygan County prosecutor, and Sheboygan County assistant prosecutor. Hopkinson made the threats last year after claiming repeatedly that he wasn't treated fairly in a trial when he was sentenced to jail for stalking. A Traverse City man is charged with operating while intoxicated, causing death, and a third offense of operating while intoxicated for a snowmobile crash in February that killed his brother. 61-year-old John Wright had a probable cause hearing scheduled for July 6th and a preliminary hearing 3 days later. Now, the two brothers were snowmobiling in East Bay Township when the John Wright made a U-turn and a 62-year-old brother crashed into him. Detroit Lions cornerback Terrion Arnold has been arrested in Florida after a warrant was issued in connection with an alleged robbery and kidnapping in Tampa. The Florida State Attorney's Office says Arnold faces multiple felony charges that could carry a potential life sentence. Investigators accuse him of coordinating with other individuals to lure 3 men into an apartment where they were beaten, robbed, and held at gunpoint. Arnold had earlier reported to police that $200,000 in personal items was stolen from an Airbnb that he had owned. Officials say he was planning retaliation within hours. He and 4 co-defendants are now in jail without bond. 2 others have already pleaded guilty in the case. Dovetailing coverage from NBC News, President Trump is defending his decision not to sign a bipartisan housing bill.
I made billions of dollars with housing. I know housing better than anybody, maybe anywhere. It's all about the interest rate. Lower the interest rates, you can have all the housing you want.
The bill meant to help buyers with the goal of lowering prices sailed through the House and Senate. It was set to be signed by Mr. Trump yesterday, but he canceled the signing, posting that he's not going to sign it until the Save America Act voting ID bill gets passed. Now, later in the day, Mr. Trump seemed to downplay the bill, saying all that's needed is to lower interest rates.
What you want to do is what good for everyone? Get the interest rates down.
Last week, new Federal Reserve Chairman Kevin Warsh and his colleagues left interest rates unchanged, apparently going against the president who had appointed him to replace Jerome Powell. Dr. Brian Long is an economist with the Seaman College of Business at Grand Valley State University.
Every president I can remember has wanted lower interest rates because it makes their term, i.e. 4 years, look good, but sometimes at the expense of the economy. If they do not control the interest rates, the faith in the dollar sags.
Investors took note while Warsh wouldn't speculate on future rate hikes. 9 out of 18 Fed officials saw a hike coming by the end of the year. Paul Goldschmidt slugged a pair of solo homers off of Tarek Skubal, while Jason Dominguez's 2-run blast of the 6th inning broke a 2-2 tie, as Aaron Boone's visiting New York Yankees defeated the Tigers last night 4-2.
Yeah, this is just a really good win for us, against a dominant pitcher that I feel like was on top of his game. We made a few big swings stand up, and caught the ball well enough, and the bullpen did a great job behind Stormy, who gave us 6 strong.
Detroit hosts the Houston Astros at Comerica Park this evening with coverage from Dan Dickerson at 6:15 p.m. on WHTC Holland's Cool FM. Dansby Swanson cracked 2 homers and drove in 11 runs yesterday, powering the Chicago Cubs to a doubleheader sweep of the Mets in New York by scores of 10-3 and 10-5.
I think it was just as frustrating for everybody, kind of like during the stretch when we weren't playing to like our style of play. But I think that over the last week plus, you've just seen what this group's capable of, what we know that we can do, and it's been fun to be a part of, just seeing guys continue to not only put the work in, but kind of get rewarded for the work. I know we can be so process-driven, but sometimes it's nice to be validated with some results as well.
The series at Citi Field in Queens concludes this evening. Khalil Watson's RBI single in the 10th inning enabled Stephen Vogt's visiting Cleveland Guardians to edge the White Sox yesterday 4-3.
He's going to come to Chicago. That was a lot of fun. It was really cool to see Khalil obviously get his first hit and then really help us win the game today. And, he had a great series, and really fun to see him, catching his stride a little bit.
Idle tonight, Chicago waits the arrival of the Kansas City Royals to Wright Field tomorrow evening. Carlos Sanchez capped a 5-run Dayton third inning with a grand slam home run as the Dragons slayed the visiting West Michigan Whitecaps last night 12-6. The series at Day Air Ballpark continues this evening. Get the latest news anytime at WHTC.com.